Hey everyone, it's Brano, and I wanted to talk around the failure that is Ashes of Creation. And I wanted to really talk about the path that I think that the next multi-millionaire should take to make their dream MMORPG. And by multi, I really mean centimillionaire, because you need a lot of money to make a good MMORPG. And it is largely because MMORPGs are the most difficult game that you can possibly make. Because making a polished single-player game is quite hard. Making a multiplayer game is harder. Making a multiplayer game that requires data integrity is extremely hard. And then you have making a multiplayer game that requires data integrity, community management, regular new content, and an economy that is, rational. That's a whole nother level of difficulty. So I wanted to put ourselves into the shoes of a centimillionaire on how they should make their dream MMORPG. So the first thing that I would recommend is that they learn how to make games like anyone else, up to the game jam stage. And that means downloading an engine, doing tutorials and guides, and just trying to get good enough to where they can compete and complete a game jam. And this will do a number of things. So, number one, it will give them some idea of what it requires to technically make a game. And this is critical because you need some level of baseline information on how a game is structured and made. You cannot plan what you cannot comprehend. So, making a game solves that issue. Number two is that you really need to start getting your gamer ego kicked in. Because most hardcore gamers that think about game design will have very strong views on what they think makes a game fun. And a lot of those opinions are actually going to be correct. The problem is that there's a lot missing with things that they overlooked or didn't consider that also make a game good. And by making your own games, you will make it very clear where your strengths and weaknesses in design are, and what you may need to improve or hire someone to make up for. So let's say you get through that phase and you are now capable of making game jam games. So what's next? Well, you need to hire a programmer and an artist to make a single player game. Because let's face it, you don't want to be the technical guy, you want to be the designer. You want these two people to make the game that you want to make. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you're paying them. But I would definitely advise that you start small. And this is going to help you confirm a couple of things. So number one, can you hire and lead people towards a destination that is achievable? Really, really important. If you can't even complete a single player game that you're happy with, what do you think is going to happen with an MMORPG? No point. Number two, you are going to get to see if your design skills lead towards a game that is actually appealing and marketable. Is what you want what the market wants? That's something you need to learn very quickly, and you need to learn how to pivot from exactly what you want to maybe bending over a tiny bit into making something that's marketable. Number three, you need to see if your design skills actually lead towards a game that is fun. Those are two very different things, marketability and games that are actually fun. You need to design for both of these. And number four, which I think is a really positive one, is that you can start crafting the world that you want your dream MMORPG to exist in. Because I believe that one of the main selling points of an MMORPG is that you get to experience the IP of a world that you get to experience the IP in a lens that you never experienced it yourself. Like, MMORPGs are just fantastic for that. Because, a generic fantasy or sci-fi world just isn't appealing. So crafting that interesting world early is really important. It gives players a reason to care about your world and your dream. So let's say you have just successfully first released your game, and I'm hoping that this game took less than a year, and hopefully it captured a small audience enough to break even. So if this is the case, then I would start expanding your team, adding maybe 3 new people to make a sequel to your game. And you would want that game to have a multiplayer experience, so you can start learning how to structure your game around multiplayer. I would also be hiring a dedicated narrative person and world builder to start really fleshing out your world, because you want to make a good sequel that makes people really care about your IP. That's important. You want to be in a world that makes people feel immersed and that, hey, I would want an MMORPG of this world. So hopefully by making this, you can turn this multiplayer game, I don't know, let's say 1.5 years time span, and hopefully it does pretty well as well. Once again, you're going to have to make it until you make something decent. Now, if you get to that stage, I would say that the next step is to expand the team again and make a live service game. Now, this can be a completely different world of your choosing if you think that it is going to compete with your dream MMORPG. But you need to start learning how to make the reoccurring revenue model work. And you also need to learn how to make a secure multiplayer game. Because it's one thing to make multiplayer, it's another thing to make multiplayer that isn't super easily hackable. Just look at a Chris Wilson video on packets and you'll see, oh, here are all the pitfalls that a packet hacker can do to destroy my game. You need to learn how to deal with that. And what's nice about live service games is that they don't necessarily have to be a big scope, but you do need to deliver a polished project and a solid multiplayer experience. And what's wonderful is that that solid multiplayer experience, that foundation, can very easily be reused for your MMORPG. Because if the game is lower scope, you will have multiple chances of fixing it and doing it correctly within that development cycle. In addition, you can start developing some of the systems you want to see within your own MMORPG game. So maybe after 1.5 or 2 years, you should hopefully have a free-to-play live service game that can help establish you as the reliable developer that is doing interesting things. And at this point, you can hopefully start to begin production on your dream MMORPG. And what we've done here is we have established that we can make and finish games. We have established a world that players can recognize and hopefully want to participate in. Number 3, we have established a team that can make secure multiplayer games. And we have also established, hopefully, design principles that set our games apart from other games. And I don't think that this process doesn't need to take more than 4 years. And while you could say that those 4 years could have been spent making an MMORPG, I am confident that with your improved insight of making games, you will be able to catch up within 2 years of development. And after those 2 years, you should be ahead of where you would have been had you started with making your dream MMORPG. Because I think it is very clear that you are more likely to have an MMORPG and 3 other released games in 8 years of work than to just have an MMORPG in 10. And that's the point I want to make in this video. And whether you are a center millionaire or a frugal solo dev, it is so much more efficient to build towards your magnum opus than it is to immediately start working on your magnum opus. So hopefully the next center millionaire can watch this video and go, I'm going to approach things a little bit differently. Have a good one, guys. See you later.